relationship theory. My name is Zay, the emotional doctor. Here we take thoughts in, we break them down, we build them up, and we play them out. Today we're going to be talking about red versus blue. This is going to be a challenge, by the way. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that the world is dealing with, a lot of things that people who are trying to develop their own sense of self, who are trying to reclaim their personalities, who are trying to find their passions, who are trying to create an image of themselves that they can believe in, who are trying to believe in themselves in the first place. I'm going to be talking about all of these ideas without using particular words that are pretty much being thrown out there every single second of the day. If you can pick up the concepts that I'm talking about, you're doing a great job. So listen closely. So red versus blue, we're talking about the pills, we're talking about matrix, we're talking about mindset, projections, image, characters, personalities, the mind, psychological, idealistic projections, image. The word today is going to be image because it's all about who you think you're playing. It's a video game. You know, it makes me think. I saw this article, I believe it is some link on Twitter that was talking about we don't know if we're living in a simulation. It's 50-50. And my comment to that was we don't know if we're living in a simulation and we're using the numbers 50-50 because we're not sure if we operate through our body when interacting with the world or operating through our mind when interacting with the world. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not even going to answer it because the answer is clear. And I'm going to start here. Carl Jung. He deals a lot with the shadow self. If anyone has heard of him, he does a lot. He deals a lot with the mind. He went very, very deep in his research. The only thing I want to touch on as far as what he spoke about today, and which is the most prevalent in the world today, is the collective unconscious or the collective unconsciousness. Very, very basically, the collective unconscious is the kind of person that you think someone else is that you don't know. It's creating an idea of somebody that you don't know and putting things onto their character, giving them an identity that makes you feel safe with who you think somebody is. That's the collective unconsciousness, basically called fear. If you want to nip this in the bud, what you have to realize is anything you're afraid of is a reflection of you, not because you're afraid of it, but because of the power that you're giving to the identity of somebody that you don't know. If you knew that you could not know someone, no matter what you tried to do, how would you identify that person? That's the challenge of talking to people. That's the challenge of building something with someone. That's the challenge of even just trying to be yourself. Sometimes you won't even feel like you know who you are. So how do you deal with the fact that, let alone, you can't figure someone else out? You can't even figure yourself out sometimes. A lot of people are going to feel really, really unsafe with that concept, with that idea, because they have to deal with it within themselves at all. What do you do when you can't feel safe, whether you look at the other person and whether you look in the mirror? There are very, very many people in the world today that in order to feel safe with everything that they don't know, they project. And the projections allow people to develop a sense of self that is able to engage with the outside world. How do they do it? By forcing you to be somebody that they can physically see. There's a video that I made a while back. It was called How to Get What You Want. I summed it down to 3 parts. It's conceptualization, visualization, and manifestation. A lot of people use that concept even though they don't know about it, but they use those 3 pieces of that concept of getting what they want to help themselves feel safe. A lot of people, what they want and never actually articulate is they want to feel safe. They want to interact. They want to connect with people. They want to be in a group. They want to be interdependent. They don't know how to be interdependent if 1, they don't know themselves, and 2, they don't know how to integrate themselves into a community. They don't know how to feel safe if they are certain that they are not a part of the group that they can see in front of them. So they either make their own group or they try to get everybody that's already in a group to form a group around them and their ideas by trying to tell other people that they're wrong, by trying to tell other people that they don't have it right, by trying to tell other people that, hey, the thing that you guys are all pursuing is not as great as this thing that you ought to be pursuing, even though they weren't part of the community in the first place. And part of the weakness of a group of people that allow that to happen is lack of a common goal. If a group allows somebody from the outside to pick apart their goals and to tell them that there's a shinier thing somewhere else, even though that person is not even part of the group, of the community, of the society, it really brings to question of just how solid that community was in the first place. Whether or not the person from the outside knew that there were people who were weak and were willing to chase anything that looked shinier outside of that community, whether that doesn't matter. What matters is, one, that there was the weakness and it was exploited, and then two, the person doing it needed to feel like they were a part of the world that they were in. And they did that by projecting their own idea of who they were onto other people. It's the same as trying to get somebody to look at something, to appreciate something within you by making them jealous. It was really funny that there was a child just the other day. I was busying myself while I'm doing what I'm doing. This child pointed out that, a toy that was on the table. I had not noticed it, but they pointed out the toy to me. And what they did was tell me not to touch the toy. The child did not tell me, oh, look, isn't this toy so cool? The child didn't know whether or not I appreciated it. So what better way to figure out that I might like the toy if I show a reaction, especially a negative one, because if I don't have any toys, maybe I would want it. And if I look like I want it, then it shows that that thing is valuable, correct? And instead of just showing it to me and showing me that they're happy about it, they tried to make me upset that they have it in the first place. What I did promptly was call it out. That one, because I actually had not even noticed that the toy was there. And then second, I let them know it. If you just wanted to show off the toy, didn't you? So there was a personal sense of pride that the child hadn't expressed in themselves. The child didn't know whether or not I would have appreciated the pride in the first place. I told them no, but what the child also didn't realize is that I knew about that toy because we both watched a show together. So we already had a connection, but yet a projection of pride and ooh, shiny look was made onto me to get me to appreciate something that the child actually appreciated themselves. This is what happens on a grand psychological scale. This is what happens with the collective unconscious idea of fear, of wanting to belong and not knowing how to fit in, of wanting to know someone, of wanting to be appreciated, but not really knowing how to get it done, and thinking that, well, I mean, if I'm proud of this and they don't have it, the way that they show me they feel about not having something lets me know that what I have is valuable, because if they had it, wouldn't they be just as proud to show me too? You see that thought pattern? So this is what's happening, not with toys, but with personalities and identities and characteristics and ways of being. Look at my clothes. Look at the way my hair is. Look at the way that I walk when I walk down the street. Look at my shirt. Gotta rep it. But just look. It's all about the eyes. People want to see you see them. They don't know how to get you to see them if they don't know how to get you to appreciate it. And that's the giant question of collective unconsciousness. If in good faith, if everybody actually wants to be known, if everybody wants to be seen, if everybody wants to be loved, if everybody wants to integrate themselves in a community without fighting and instigating negativity, if everybody wants to communicate and express and have conversations and share, if everybody wants to do these things but doesn't know how to do it, how do you even begin? Where is the leverage? Where is the point? What can I, and these are the questions they're asking in themselves if they can't see how to join a community in good faith. What do I have that can make somebody look at what I have? How do I get an image of appreciation from them, from their eyes, from the way that they look at what I have, that lets me know that what I have is valuable and that it belongs to the world. It's about the eyes. It's about belonging. It's about connection. It truly, truly is in good faith. If it wasn't bad faith, all it really means is that there's malice, that there's an intention to deceive and to hurt and to cause damage. And if it wasn't bad faith, if the intention was to cause harm, the harm would be caused as soon as possible. There's no need to wait to cause harm, unless you have to be insidious. But if you must be insidious about it, you do still understand the idea of kindness and compassion along the way. If you were to forego all of that, you just have to simply be as malicious as possible. So as a side note, if anybody wants to suspect that somebody's dangerous or something like that, you might need to take them out right then, because danger is not kind to patience. So we even need to reorient ideas about danger and hostility in the first place. Now back to image, back to the collective unconsciousness, back to fear, back to wanting to belong. These are the things that people are trying to obtain. They're trying to obtain them by seeing if the way someone else carries themselves, the way that somebody delivers themselves, appreciates. And when I say appreciate, I don't mean give a good word. I don't mean say thank you, just offer a compliment. I mean appreciate, like clean up, develop, to show gratitude, to caretake, and to ensure that something stays in a pristine state. How do you get someone to appreciate you? The collective unconsciousness, the way people project themselves onto people, this is what they're battling. Now, this is just half of the red versus blue concept that I want to talk about here. That's blue. That is blue. This is what everyone is struggling with when everyone is trying to grow up, when children are involved, when mothers and fathers are involved. This is what we're dealing with. When there isn't a way to get someone to appreciate you, but then there's children involved, guess what happens next, people? Just like that toy where the child tried to make me see that the toy was valuable, not by showing their pride of it, but making me jealous in order to obtain their pride. This is what people are doing to their children when they want society to appreciate them. If the image of a child is going to make the parent look good, the parent gets to feel like a good person. If anyone has seen that Steve Harvey video talking to the child, that is a prime example of what happens when the mother wants to be appreciated for the way that the child looks, because it's not about the child. And there are so many videos that have covered this. This is what everyone is really trying to get at. It's not about the child. It's about the way that the mother looks through the child. That's all. And what it does is, just like the mother gets to take pride in the child by making everyone else jealous because you have someone appreciating the image of a child that seems to say the right things, even though they are not currently in practice of it, it still tempts people to want to become the image of that kid so that they get to hear the good words. They get to feel like they belong. They get to feel like people look at them with appreciation. People will take care of them. People will keep them in pristine condition. People will value them. People will integrate them into the community. This is what that is. This is the entire issue with treating someone like that and with trying to develop the image of a child that represents the parent rather than allowing the child to represent themselves, or even growing them up to represent themselves the way that they need to based on their experiences and talents and skills. Is that child never gets to realize those skills. They never get to realize their own capacity for talent, their own observations. The way that they address the world and want to address the world never gets assimilated, integrated into society. Why? Because someone else is taking pride in them. Someone else has absorbed all of the energy, all of the good things, all of the appreciation, the attention, the good words and smiles and laughter. Somebody else has taken it from the child because they created an image. They gave the kid an image of someone that everybody else is supposed to see to make the parent look like they did a good job. Because then what happens is, hey, if the parent did a good job, then the child, when they grow up, they're going to represent society in a way that both appreciates the parents and everybody else, and, you know, be a very useful utility to the world, right? That's what we want. But that's projection. In total, it's the collective unconscious projection of a human idea. Where does the idea come from, ladies and gentlemen? The parent who has their own fear-based idea of what someone would be like, even though they don't know who they are, rather than just admitting that they don't know who their child will become and listening and understanding that child and developing their talents in a way that slowly gives them more and more information. They forego all of that. They don't smile or laugh with the kid or appreciate the kid and give them gratitude and compliments and build that child up to be the person that they're going to be. They remove all of those things, all of those good things that would grow a seed into a wonderful flower or a mustard seed into a wonderful tree. They take all of that water, we'll call it, and they put it into a concept that isn't the child. That's what's happening. So imagine if you take all of these good things, all of this value, all of this appreciation, all of this belonging, all of this pride, and you put it into an image that the child can see, is looking at it, and you give it to the image rather than the child, what do you think the child's gonna do? Since they don't necessarily have an idea of autonomy yet, right? They don't necessarily have a concrete image of their experiences. They don't know how to develop that idea of what they've seen, and they don't know how to share it. They don't know how to articulate those experiences. They're not sure how to present it to other people in a way that lets them know that I've been here, I have seen this thing means something to me. They don't know how to do those things. So what do you think they're going to do when somebody they trust is appreciating an image of what they think the child should be? The child is going to go chase that thing. That child is going to chase that image right outside of their personal zone. They're going to chase that image right outside of their boundaries. They're going to chase that image right outside of who they truly, truly are and what they've seen. They're going to chase themselves right out of their own trust. They're looking to get those same eyes that a person themselves, let alone it was a parent, is looking to have when they want to integrate their joy, when they want to be a part of a community, when they want to see a smile, when they want to see a face that tells them that they're loved and that they're cared for. The kid is going to chase after those things instead. They're going to try to become the person that gets the smiles, which indicates that the child isn't allowed to be themselves enough to just get a smile because they are who they are. So what do you think happens when a person realizes that the reason why somebody was happy with them was not because they're funny, was not because they're such a great person, because they actually have talent, but because the person was afraid to be themselves enough to integrate their pride and to integrate themselves and to get a smile back from the very person that was following an image developed for them? What do you think is going to happen when all of this is going on? You get someone who realizes that the image was never about them. You get someone who feels like they were never allowed to be trusted, to be as talented as they are. You can be 10, you can be 17, you can be 25, you can be 32, you can be 59 when you realize that the person that you were being was actually only representing a fear-based idea of someone else. It doesn't matter your age. The truth is, you're just bottom line going to be enraged that you weren't trusted enough to be your own person, the kind of person who is aware of fear, who is aware of loss, who is aware of connection and friendships and community. You weren't trusted with these ideas. you're going to have a really tough time bringing back all of the emotions that belong to you. You're going to have a really hard time understanding the smiles and the appreciation and compassion that you would naturally receive as a person who really believes in themselves and just wants to be themselves and not just an image. You're going to have a hard time understanding and finding a compatible balance between the person that you want to be, the person who isn't any of the images that you were taught, because they weren't smiling at you for being yourself, right? They were smiling at you for being someone that they were afraid of not seeing. You're going to have a really hard time finding a compatible balance between really being yourself and someone who's afraid of you being yourself. That's the red. It's really hard to be yourself when everyone is afraid of themselves. That's red versus blue. The RT vlog number 33. Enjoy your day. They just want to feel safe, and that's why they make you into somebody they think is good for human society, even though they're not actually being the person that they need to be in order to make sure that that kind of person actually works for the society that they live in. And when you have somebody under your control, you can put them forward and use them as an experiment for the things that you think work when you're interacting with other human beings without actually having to take the damage yourself. It's based on fear, so regardless, anything you think you're supposed to be afraid of, you don't have to deal with. You instinctively don't have to deal with it because you have already projected yourself through someone to have to deal with the things that you think you've seen in your own head. If you have somebody who's living the things that you are afraid of dealing with yourself, and what you're afraid of is able to be imaged in somebody else by way of projection, then all you have to do is try to attack all the fears that are coming towards your projective idea of what a human would be like, even though you are not the person that is being projected upon. And then becoming defensive about the fact that you aren't able to project the way you want to. And people create a personality based off of the fact that they are projecting in the first place and can't even differentiate between the fact that they're not even being a human being. They're living the kind of life that requires them to project onto others in order to survive. The image they made of themselves is an image of a person that thinks that they must put themselves on the other people. That's a really weird way to live. A lot of people don't know themselves because they spend more time making other people look the way they want them to look. And all of the emotions and feelings that they feel are due to the fact that they keep projecting onto people and cannot tell the difference between the kind of person they would be if they weren't projecting their own ideas of what a human would be versus the fact that they are doing that. Even being the kind of person that projects onto people has its own feelings, it has its own emotions. And you're going to feel angry about the fact that you can't tell somebody else what's happening in their life, even though the reason why you're even trying to tell them what's happening in their life in the first place is because you have a projection of a personality that tells you, if I'm not telling this person what they need to be doing, I don't feel like I don't feel like myself. There are people who don't feel like themselves because they're not projecting. That's really weird.